Pembrokeshire is fast becoming my favourite place to photograph wildlife, and in this video you're going to see exactly why. Covering over 243 square miles, it is home to one of the UK's best national nature reserves. And is home to some insane wildlife, like the UK's third largest gannet colony. But if we're talking about seabirds, there's one that really takes the biscuit, and that's the puffin. This insanely cute Temu penguin draws hundreds of photographers each year, and when you go to see them, it's clear to see why. And an island just off the coast of Pembrokeshire is home to one of the largest colonies of this species anywhere in the country, and that is Gower Island. Boasting an impressive 52,000 puffins, this is somewhere I'd massively recommend if you're into wildlife photography. And the really cool thing is that there's multiple different ways that you can experience these puffins. So in this video, I'm going to go over each one of those. The first and most popular option for seeing the puffins is to visit the island itself. This is doable through taking a ferry over to the island, which will allow you to see the puffins for about 4.5 hours. And this is more than enough time to get loads of photographs. And this is for two main reasons. Firstly, there are absolutely loads of puffins, and they're also very used to people, meaning that they can get really close, meaning that it's far easier to get a photograph. In terms of gear recommendations, if you have a longer focal length lens like a 600mm, you're going to be absolutely fine getting the birds in flight from a distance, but I'd also recommend a lens which can actually zoom out wider as well. So a zoom lens like the 200-600, the 150-600, you know the drill. All of these are going to give you an absolutely fantastic day. Most recently, I've also used the Sigma 70-200 on the island and had a really great day. Again, because the puffins are really numerous and you are able to get a little bit closer. But if you are using one of these wider focal length lenses, you might have to just be a little bit more patient and wait for a puffin to come a little bit closer if you do want to get portrait. Alternatively, if you want to try and incorporate some of the landscape around you, which I really recommend that you should, then these wider focal length lenses are going to be absolutely fantastic in terms of getting a variety of shots. Now, if you're not lucky enough to see the puffins on the island, another option might be to book one of the various ferry rides. And in fact, this year I ended up going on one of the ferry rides, even though I'd been on the island earlier in the day. The reason being is that this ferry ride started at sunset, giving you access to the beautiful light that I was talking about a little bit earlier. But not only that, it's giving you access to see the seabirds in a completely different way to how you're viewing them on the island. The other big benefit I saw with this evening tour is that it allows you to see a lot more different species of seabirds. On Gower Island, you're generally going to be seeing lots of puffins, and obviously that's the big selling point about being there. But going out on the water allows you to see a lot more of the guillemots and the razorbills, which generally nest a little bit further away on Gower. But the other really interesting species are the Manx shearwater. These birds spend most of their lives out on sea, but 2/3 of the world's population end up in Gower and Stockholm, which is the next door island, during the summer months to breed. But if you're only visiting Gower during the day, you're very unlikely to see them, but your best opportunity to see them will be going out onto one of these ferry rides and trying to see them out at sea. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get any photos of them, so you're just going to have to deal with one of these stock photos. But genuinely, they're absolutely fantastic to watch glide across the sea, at which point I should probably talk about how you could photograph on these boats. It's a lot more difficult than shooting on the land, as you can imagine. Obviously, the motion of the boat just makes tracking the subjects that bit harder. So I would really recommend shooting with a really fast shutter speed and a very high frames per second, because your hit rate is going to be far, far lower than it is on land. But fortunately, you are on the boat for an hour and a half, so you are going to get a lot of different opportunities to get enough photos. And when thinking about the gear to bring on these trips, I would definitely recommend a longer focal length lens. Obviously, being on a boat, you can't get close to the wildlife, so the longer the lens, the better. You probably can get away with something like a 70-300mm lens, but if you have a 600mm lens, I would really recommend it. Even with these lenses, I ended up cropping quite a fair bit. But overall, the experience is super magical, and the sunsets, if you time it right, are just amazing. Now, there is one final option for seeing the puffins, and it was one that I have waited to do all year, and I was so excited to do it. And that is to go and snorkel with them. Now, this is the first time I've done any filming in the water, and I think it's safe to say that the BBC aren't going to be ringing me up anytime soon. But just being in the water with these beautiful birds is such a wonderful experience, and the best way to get the most out of it is to be calm. This is because ultimately you want the birds to be really relaxed with you. So sitting, being really still and slowly swimming towards them is definitely the best option. In order to facilitate this, The company, which helps to facilitate the snorkeling, provides you with decoys.
Surely that would Terry. But I forgot that all the rest of them around us is real.
Now, puffins are a very, very social species, so these decoys help the puffins to feel more relaxed. In fact, there's a wonderful story of scientists trying to study puffins. In order to do this, they used similar decoys and popped them around the island to see how the puffins would behave. The interesting thing with these decoys is that each one of the decoys only had one leg, and as such, the puffins that hang around with these decoys ended up adopting a rather funny behavior, which was to spend most of the time standing on one leg. So as you can imagine, these decoys are a massive use. Now you're out on the boat tour for about 3 hours, of which you're out snorkeling for about an hour to an hour and a half. And as such, if you're a wimp with a cold like me, then I would definitely recommend hiring one of their wetsuits. And during this hour and a half, you're going to get ample opportunity to get up close with the puffins. In terms of gear, I was using the GoPro with the underwater housing, which, given that it's quite a wide field of view, you can see I'm not really getting too up close with the puffins. But my friend James of Photo Fever fame used the proper underwater housing and the Canon 24-105 and got some much closer portraits. Obviously, if you are going to bring along a setup like this, there's a much higher initial investment than just bringing along a GoPro. So it's probably more for the dedicated underwater photographers. But if you're just looking to go along the experience and capture a few memories, then the GoPro is probably going to be great. Now, there is only one problem with Pembrokeshire, and that is that it's so far away. So if you've only got enough puffin activities booked for one day, what else are you going to do with your time? Well, there are a few different nice reserves around.
Nice.
One that we visited was Teefy Marshes, which has a number of really nice bird hides. The staff were absolutely fantastic, but best of all was the wildlife, as it's a really great place to see kingfishers. In fact, one hide that we visited, we genuinely opened the door and saw this kingfisher in front of us, and I've genuinely never got the camera out of my bag so fast. It was such a fantastic sight to see, and I think it's probably the best kingfisher shot I've ever taken. Another really nice place that we went to was Kenarth Falls. This is a wonderful walk along a river, which has a beautiful waterfall on which you can see various different birds feeding, including grey and pied wagtails. But probably my favourite view at this site was the beautiful white-throated dippers. And in fact, we were lucky enough to see a couple of parents with their rather demanding chick. But for both of these reserves, definitely you're going to be looking at these longer focal length lenses again, going up to your 600mm lens, as the birds are generally further away, as you'd expect with most birding sites around the country. And then there's my favourite non-puffin site in Pembrokeshire, and that is Rhossili, which is located over in the Gower. This stunning place really reminds me of the New Forest, mainly because one of its main residents is the Gower pony.
But not only that, it's obviously set in a rather fantastic location, which you can see behind me. We've got these wonderful cliffs, and we've got this rather beautiful sunset on its way. So the goal for today is to try and photograph these beautiful horses whilst trying to incorporate some of these wonderful elements of these fantastic cliffs behind me, and hopefully this rather amazing sunset. So for this, what I've got is the Sigma 24-70. This is not the usual wildlife photography lens that I would use. However, I don't really need it to be. This is because we're going to be trying to incorporate some of this wonderful surrounding environment. Not only that, but obviously the horses are rather big. They're also pretty tame, so you can get rather close to them. So using a lens like the 24-70 should be absolutely perfect. All we got to do now is to try and find these ponies. Now we have this truly spectacular formation just out in front of us, if you can see, just going out to the sea. What this is Worm's Head. Now the story behind this is it comes from back in the Viking times, and worm actually was the old word for serpent. So rather than this being a worm, this was a sea serpent. So far, far cooler than the mud-dwelling thing that we think of today. What I'd like to do, because I'm shooting quite wide, is I'd like to try and incorporate some of this side of the cliffs as well. Just so we've got a little bit of structure to the photo, going all the way out, right up to the tip of Worm's Head. So I've now done most of the headland, and in fact, we're just coming up to in line with Worm's Head behind us. The horses have moved from earlier, so I was down here earlier in the day shooting, and they were right at the beginning. So I was a little bit kind of curious as to where they'd ended up. And they've ended up just right on the end of the nature reserve. So we're going to head down there now, and hopefully get some of this sunset behind us. It might be blocked by some of the cliffs, but they're well illuminated as it stands. So we'll see what we can get.
Now, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button down below. It just means that more people are more likely to see this video. And if you'd like to see more travel guides and terrible windswept hair like this, then be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And finally, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.